this meeting to order on March 27th, 2018. Welcome, everyone. And City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham. Commissioner Holland.
Here.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson. Here. Mayor Harless.
Here. Commissioner Holland, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Yeah.
You will stand with us, please.
Dear Lord, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Give us a spirit of service, and help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons with the reverence they deserve. We seek a sense of the welfare and the true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. You may be seated. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, the ordinance introduction 3G is withdrawn for this evening.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. We have a proclamation tonight and a presentation. And so first off, we're going to start by celebrating all of the volunteer hours that the National Service Corps provides to our community. This is, we have AmeriCorps and the Senior Corps here with us tonight, and they're going to share with us a little bit about their programs. But before that, I'm going to go in to read this proclamation on behalf of the city in honor and thanks for all of the hours. I think we have several volunteers here with us tonight, so thank you for being here this evening. All right, here we go. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's city governments are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet their needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century to fighting the opioid epidemic, to responding to national disasters, to supporting veterans and military families. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve, both through their direct service and by managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intense commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavor. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with local leaders nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, the National Association of Counties, Cities of Service, and local leaders across the country for National Service Recognition Day. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Brandy Harless, Mayor of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim April 3rd, 2018 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service in our community, to thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'm going to bring this over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to thank you all for letting us come out tonight. My name is Keith Ritchie. I'm the program advisor with the Kentucky College Coach Program, which is an AmeriCorps program throughout the state of Kentucky. Kia, who I work for, is Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority. We're the people that handle the state money to help pay for college and technical school. We're the people behind KEYS money. and a number of other scholarships. Tonight I'm with Emma Rushing, who's the Kentucky college coach stationed at McCracken County High School. She works with students from 9th grade all the way through 12th grade, about 50 core students altogether, and she's charged with the task to help them in any way, shape, or form get prepared for life after high school. So she helps them with scholarships, financial aid applications, helps them organize things like college field trips to go see these college campuses, technical campuses. I know this year alone, Emma has had a pivotal role in McCracken County High School to get the students to check out, what was it, UK, Murray State, and the West Kentucky Community Technical College out here. And that serves a great purpose for our students to be able to see these places firsthand to see if this would be a good fit for them after high school. So a little bit about our program just real quick. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but there are 42 college coaches scattered throughout the Commonwealth. And this program has been going on since the 2010-11 school year, and each year we've seen more and more remarkable progress in these schools around the Commonwealth. In fact, our latest program evaluation showed that core students at the schools in which have a Kentucky college coach stationed there, they saw a 12 to 13% increase in college going rates among the general population of the same school. So we're thrilled to see the kind of progress that's been going on at schools around the state. But I just want to take a second just to really recognize Emma's hard work at McCracken County High School. I know there have been countless situations where she has directly impacted the life of many, many students and families. The way that we pick our core students, we have a set of criteria that we're looking for, but an overwhelming majority of the students that we work with on a daily basis with this program are typically students who are eligible for free or reduced lunch, who are typically first-generation college students. So we try our best to open up as many opportunities, put that on the table as possible, whether it's the 4-year traditional college route, whether it's a technical program, technical certificate, whatever it is that they might be interested in. We try to get on board with that and find as many ways as possible to help that student become successful after high school in obtaining a career, which certainly helps our Commonwealth as a whole. But I know that the entire school at McCracken County High School thinks the world of Emma, and we certainly do too. She's a wonderful, wonderful asset to our community, and I just wanted to take a second just to thank her for everything that she's done for Paducah. But thank you all so much.
Thank you, Emma, for your service. Absolutely.
Good evening. My name is Christine Thompson. I'm the RSVP director at the Paducah Senior Center. I am in charge of the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. It's a senior corps program. We connect seniors 55 plus to different organizations in the community. Basically, we're here to help the seniors find volunteer stations where they can serve a purpose and help out in the community. They do serve a really great purpose in the community by strengthening communities. They do everything from mentoring school children to helping out at the food pantry to helping out at nursing homes. So they do have a purpose, and that's what the program is set up for. So, and I want to thank you for having us here, and we'd also like to present a check to show how many hours that our volunteers have contributed to the City of Paducah. In 2017, they contributed 20,000 hours to the community. So I don't know if you wanted to come in here for a photo opportunity.
Can we get the volunteers to come get a picture with us as well? Do you guys mind? Awesome. And we could all stand around the front. You guys can choose to come down there or stand up here, whichever one.
Let's go down there.
Let's go down there. Tower over. Although I would not be towering. Do you have a photographer? You're a photographer? Will you take? Yeah. Thank you for coming. I don't think I'm going to block anyone. No. I'm not tall enough to do. Are we in the closest front? Can you come in? Certainly. You're good. We're going to have to sneak in a little bit closer to each other. Yeah. There you go. There you go. You guys ready? 1, 2. See more cameras. Oh, wait, we're You good? One more. The commission, do you want to stay down and grab a picture with them? Keith, you want to get in there too?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Absolutely. We can leave that check up here. Let's do that for the meeting and remind ourselves. How about that? Yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm better. I don't know how to do this to make it look right. Commissioner Penman, got it.
Here you go, sir. Yes, sir. Wait till you have a good night. Yeah, you do that now.
Thank you. So before our RSVP volunteers leave, I have to plug an opportunity that's coming up soon. As you're walking out of the front door of City Hall, you'll notice a reception desk. And so we are working on an opportunity for volunteer placement for greeters to greet our citizens as they come into City Hall. So just plugging that as an opportunity for all of you RSVP volunteers. We love to have you. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for your service.
I'll have to join.
Tammy said she's going to join. All right, we're going to move on and welcome Terry Hudspeth, who's the CEO of Four Rivers Behavioral Health, up to give us a further presentation on the opioid epidemic. I think I mentioned we have a series of speakers from our community who are going to share with us how they're helping to solve this big issue.
Good, how are you? Nice to see you again.
All right.
Thank you.
Love a packet.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Terry.
Make notes in the back of my folder. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Oh, we got slides.
Thank you.
And there's not no states required.
Meth is
That's
still
good.
the biggest meth statewide.
Well, thank you all for inviting us. We appreciate it. With the crowd that was here, I was glad I left my first slide in, which I need to go back, I think. No, this is it. To tell a little bit about who we were, I never want to assume people know who Four Rivers Behavioral Health is. So we are a private nonprofit corporation. Sometimes people think we're a state agency, but we're not. But we are the state-designated community mental health center for the 9 westernmost counties of our region. So it's the Purchase area plus Livingston County. We have about 300 employees, probably about 330 right now. For your information, about 195 of those are McCracken County employees. And we have a budget over $25 million. And we see about 13,000 people every year. 8,000 of those we see through our McCracken County office. They may not all be McCracken County residents, but they are seen through our McCracken County office. So, but you wanted us to talk about just our substance abuse services and what we see as it relates to opioids. We do see about, of the 13,000 that I said we see every year, we see about 3,000 for a primary reason of substance abuse. We see probably many more of the folks we see that have a mental health issue also have a substance abuse issue, but 3,000 of those, about that, are primarily coming to see us for their substance use issue. About 1,700 of those are seen through our McCracken County office, and we see probably 2 to 1 male to female, so about twice as many males as we see females. Close. So when somebody comes to us, we ask what their primary drug of choice is and what their primary reason to come see us is. And this is the numbers that people report to us for the primary reason for coming to see us, what they believe is their addiction. So alcohol and marijuana stay on top, primarily 800 each. And then meth continues to be a big issue for us, and then opiates is after that. So as Elizabeth and I were talking about this, meth, where she says we're seeing more and more folks that have opiates laced in meth.
We've actually, in the past 4 months, seen probably about 3 urine drug screens come back that was primary meth, but then also had fentanyl, tested positive for fentanyl.
Goodness.
And so these individuals had no clue that they also ingested fentanyl when they were using meth. And even though it's only 3, that's very alarming that how many more, because fentanyl is very fast acting, so it's very, very hard to detect, and that we actually detected that is saying something that's scary. Wow.
So you see why I brought Elizabeth. She's the expert. I'm just here to quote numbers. In your packet on the left side, you'll see a chart that says statewide percentage of drug of choice, and our numbers are really close percentage-wise to what the statewide average is. So marijuana and alcohol is still on top with the state, then meth, and then opiates after that. And the folks that report for opioids, the next piece of paper on your left side, you'll see the numbers by opioid that people report to us. Hydrocodone and being the highest, then oxycodone, then heroin, and then it drops way off after that. But those are the numbers, and you can see from 2009 to 2018 how those numbers have escalated over the years. So definitely is an increasing problem in our region. So hopefully that chart makes a little bit of sense to you. And then we included on the left side also a couple of maps just for your information. The first one was one we found that indicates by county the risk of opioid overdose. And they divided the state into quadrants and quartiles, and you'll see that McCracken County was third in the third quartile. So we're third highest risk out of 4 for opioid risk of overdose in our area. So, and then right behind that is a prescribing, the rate that we prescribe opioids in our region. Now this is in 2015, and we couldn't find anything any more recent than 2015, but you'll see our prescribing rates are pretty high compared to the state. My guess would be that over the last couple of years, as this become more popular, that our prescription rates have probably gone down, I would assume, but probably tell you more about that than I could. So the things that we do as it relates to substance abuse in general and then opioids specifically, and Elizabeth's going to talk about a few of these, that what we offer for folks that come for substance abuse are your typical outpatient therapy, individual, family, or group. We do a lot of group therapy related around substance abuse. We also do our DUI programs for anybody that's a first, second, or third offense DUI. Then intensive outpatient programs for adults and adolescents. And an intensive outpatient program is a program, it's basically like a residential program, except they go home at night. So they come to us 3, 4, 5 days a week for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day and are getting their individual therapy, family therapy, group therapy, and then they go home in the evenings. We also have our 30-day residential program down in Mayfield at our Fuller Center. That's your typical 30-day residential, what you see on TV and all that stuff that's pretty popular. And then our Centerpoint program that's here in McCracken County that we're really proud of, that's out by the soccer fields. If you don't know where that is, it's 100-bed male-only residential treatment program that's 6 months in length and is very, very successful. Somebody that completes that program, they do statewide. There's recovery centers across the state, and statewide those programs are 70–80% success rates. So they are really, really successful for a substance abuse program. So I'm very proud of Centerpoint. And then something we've started doing over the last several years is peer support. We have folks that we integrate into all of our mental health and substance abuse programs, people that are in recovery that have been through the process and know what's going on and can start walking through with somebody that's just going through it for the first time. So this doesn't have to be any kind of counselor or therapist or anybody with a degree. It can be anyone that's been through the recovery process and can walk with somebody to get as they start that process and that journey. So And then something that we're just starting to think about and talk about, I went ahead and debated whether to include on the slide, but is a rapid response team. There's a movement to have people, peer supports, that once an overdose occurs within a emergency department, that you have a team of people that have been through that show up at the emergency room, start talking to the person right then about recovery, about treatment, and try to get them going toward treatment as while they're at their lowest point of having overdosed, and hopefully can get them into treatment really quick. And then our next couple of things are opioid-specific treatments that Elizabeth's going to speak to you about. And then we've got just a really short little video after she finishes.
I'm Elizabeth Fleming. I'm the Director of Center for Specialized Addiction Services at Four Rivers Behavioral Health. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was Narcan. So basically in October of, I believe it was 2016, we were awarded a grant to expand our services for opioid use disorders. And within that grant, we received some funding to actually purchase Narcan kits. So with that, we coordinated with the Kentucky Harm Reduction Coalition to obtain kits. And what we do with these kits is basically individuals that come in our office that are at risk of overdosing, and when we say at risk, they come in, they've used a large amount of opiates over a long period of time. We're trying to get them engaged in services, but it may take a little bit of time for them to actually get set up with services. Or individuals that were incarcerated and had a opioid use disorder, and they're coming in getting engaged in treatment, but again, we're concerned that if they return to use, they're more at risk of overdosing. So what we do with the Narcan, basically, if you're not familiar with Narcan or naloxone, it reduces overdose deaths. Once it's administered, it can cause acute precipitated withdrawal. So basically, the individual, they're going to go through a little bit of withdrawal. The effects of it last anywhere between about 30 to 60 minutes. And the way it works is that it actually, once it hits the opioid receptor, it knocks off all the opioids that's in there and it covers it. So basically, the individual kind of can help come alert. So in these kits, what's included is, let me get this out. We have 2 4-milligram Narcan sprays. We have a mask or a shield. A brochure that really explains that, like I mentioned, we do the training for the individuals. We also do the training for if they have a family member, a parent, a friend, somebody that's engaged in treatment with them. We obtain a release of information, and this is who we really want to give the training to, because obviously if an individual overdoses, they cannot administer Narcan to themselves. A brochure that really explains what an overdose is, what to do, in addition to how to actually, what are the steps to follow. We also have in this a response card from the Regional Prevention Center that if the Narcan kits are used, we want that information back. Basically, that way we know how many kits in the community have actually been utilized. We're not looking to get the individual into treatment at that point. We want to collect numbers, because one of the things that we're finding is that our area, it's hard to collect data, and this is one way that we can actually get that data. So basically the training, again, we go over the signs of an overdose, the steps to actually get help, how to contact, obviously, 911 first, how to do rescue breathing, how to actually administer the Narcan, and then from there, the aftercare. So basically, once they administer that, not to just leave that person, because again, it only lasts about 30 to 60 minutes, and at that point, the opioids is going to go back on, and the individual's going to possibly go back into that overdose. So that's a little bit about some of the Narcan training that we actually do with our individuals. And like I mentioned, we really try to, right now we have 75 kits available that we can do training on with individuals that come in, family members, community members, anyone that could possibly encounter someone who's going to overdose. So that's a little bit about Narcan and the training that we can actually conduct. Also with that funding that we received, one of the programs that we implemented was Core 12. And so basically Core 12, what it is, it's a comprehensive opioid response that utilizes the 12 steps. And this program was designed by Hazelton Betty Ford Center. And if you know anything about treatment, substance use treatment, Hazel and Betty Ford, they're the pioneers. They're the individuals that you want to go to if you have an issue. For the longest time, the Hazel and Betty Ford Center was an abstinence-based program, and they found that individuals with opiate use disorders, they weren't completing treatment. These individuals were coming in, they were prematurely discharging, they were having a problem in their residential facilities of individuals bringing opiates in, and they decided, okay, we have to do something. We have to do something different because the bottom line, people are dying. And so at that point, they come up with this program that has a component of medication-assisted treatment. And when they look at medication-assisted treatment, they knew that the importance of it was to combine the original principles of treatment in addition to the community of the 12-step basis. And so this program, basically, we were trained through Hazel and Betty Ford. They came down, trained probably about 35 clinicians / community members, and we started implementing the program. So basically the way it works is there's 3 different pathways with this. There's a non-medication route. So say the individual comes in, they're not interested in medications as far as buprenorphine or Vivitrol. So they would possibly be appropriate for that track. Then there's the possible track for buprenorphine and naloxone, which is Suboxone, Subzolve, and then possibly the track of Vivitrol. And what we do is we partner with Kentucky Care. They're our prescriber. We provide the outpatient and the treatment services. So we're a team. When we look at this, like I mentioned, Kentucky Care, they provide the medication, but we meet weekly. We have team meetings. We have that constant communication with the whole team and the staff to make sure these individuals are receiving the most appropriate level of care. As far as who's appropriate for this program, it's basically anyone who's 18 years or older. They have a diagnosis of opioid use disorder, moderate or severe. They've experienced one or more of the following. They've had a 1-year history of problematic opioid use. They've experienced negative consequences as a result from their opioid use. They've attempted treatment in the past, but they weren't successful. They found that they just could not engage in treatment because with opioid use disorders, one of the hardest things as far as the engagement is the withdrawal symptoms. You know, trying to really get them to concentrate on treatment when they feel like they have the flu ×4 is very, very difficult. And we tell the individuals that they need to be ready for treatment. They need to be engaged. Now, we'll meet the individual where they're at, but at the same time, they know that the ultimate goal is complete abstinence. They know that they may not be on this medication for the rest of their life, because our goal is within 18 months, we're gonna, if it's appropriate, start that tapering process. That's what makes this program a little bit different than some of the other programs, because we're trying to get the individual to be connected within the community, to get them, they're on the medication, but that's just a small piece. They're also learning the skills, they're learning job skills, they're learning communication, they're learning parenting, just basically how to get their life back. And they have to do that with treatment and not just medication. We also, like Terry mentioned, we do have a peer support specialist that works with the individuals. We try to get them to get the consumer connected within the community. We also have a substance use case manager that works with our consumers as far as resume building, how to apply for housing, how to basic hygiene. You know, we find that individuals come in and they don't know how to take care of themselves. And so teaching them those basic hygiene skills to help them be successful later on. We also have an opioid-specific support group because, again, we want these individuals connected in the community, but one of the hardest things is they're on medication. And so then we're trying to encourage them to go to traditional AA meetings and so forth, and they have conflicts with that because some of the individuals say, well, you're not in recovery if you're on medication. So we really try to engage that you can be in recovery even though you're on this medication. Currently in our program, we currently have about 25 consumers that are receiving the medication piece of it with Kentucky Care. And basically, that's pretty much as far as that goes. Let's show a little video that can explain it a little bit.
just a short little 2-minute video about our Core 12 program.
You've had your mom telling you to quit. You've had your dad telling you to quit. You've had your brother, your sister telling you to stop using. Why don't you stop using? Why don't you just quit? And they don't. So what makes me think I can tell an addict to stop using and they're all of a sudden going to quit? It's very personal to me, addiction. And I know that someone can recover, and they do recover.
The individual will come into our program because they have issues with opiates and they want help. This program allows the individual to be seen multiple times a week. They're involved with therapy, they're involved with peer support services. We try to link them to services in the community.
With the Core 12 program, it is an intensive program, and there's a lot of intimidation when someone is starting in the program. They feel as if it's going to take over their whole life, and that's just not true. And I've gotten to see the perspective of the individuals in the program. That's changed for them as well. You still go to work and spend time with your kids and function. The way your life is functioned, it just actually gets better.
You know, we work with medications and we work with you know, all these different resources that are available to us now, but all of it is a Band-Aid until the consumer's ready.
In life, I feel that the only time you get to see a transformation in someone's life is if you've known them for a while. You watch someone grow up through childhood, adolescence to adulthood. That's a transformation. But in the 6 months that we've had this program, I've gotten to directly witness transformation in people's lives.
They have that support, those services that they really need that they're not getting elsewhere.
I take this journey with them. I'm not scared to get down in the trenches with them and help pull them out. I'm an addict myself. I'm a person in recovery. You know, I'm never cured. There's not a cure for it. And I'm there to motivate them, to try to give them hope so they can succeed.
Ultimately, it's up to the individual, and when they've decided that they don't want to live the life that they were living anymore, I get the pleasure of seeing them feel that empowerment once they've been in the program and they make the decision to change their life.
And as soon as I think I'm not fighting it is when I'll fail.
That's it. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Ma'am.
Oh.
As far as your people that are on a stabilized basis?
As far as medication, like I mentioned, we just started this program back in, we received the grant in October. We officially started December 2016. So we still haven't had any long-term data to really look at.
Hadn't you, prior to that though, weren't you all also dealing with people who were addicted?
Yes. What we found is since we've actually implemented this program, we have individuals that are actually engaged in treatment. Okay. I mean, they're coming, they're participating, their lives are getting better. Like I mentioned, the individuals come multiple times a week. Starting out, they attend 2 group sessions, 1 individual session, and opioid support groups each week. So it's very intensive.
You're still not, I'm still not letting myself clear, but I was trying to get even back past that, what your success rate was prior to even the implementation of this program.
Prior to this, I believe our KTOS data, which is in there, showed that there was, we do something, the Kentucky Treatments and Outcomes Study through the University of Kentucky. The most recent data that we received looked at, I believe it was 2015 or so, the individuals that were in treatment for opioid-related disorders. I believe it was close to a 37% reduction as far as they sampled 69 individuals. Out of those individuals, I can't remember the exact how many had opioid use disorders, but they found that there was actually a significant decrease in their use once they went through treatment.
I wanted to ask you a question about the capacity of the program. And do you have, are you at capacity?
No, we can grow.
Okay.
Dr. Brazel currently can prescribe up to 100 consumers, which would be great. I say that hesitantly because one of the issues, or not, it's not really an issue, but again, the other piece of this is treatment. One of the areas that we find is that getting clinicians that want to work with the substance use population is very, very difficult and very, very challenging. Getting certified individuals, again, that have this passion. So we actually need a need for clinicians that want to work with the population. It's challenging, but it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, the first year we could only handle 30 by regulation, and now we're up to 100 now. And so we can handle a capacity of 100 folks.
And once you get to a certain number, you have to have an extra clinician, which gives you the
yes, but then it kind of goes back to funding, because what we're finding is Medicaid services are paying for these services. However, if an individual has private insurance, I'm our only clinician that is billable in our department. I'm also the site administrator, so managing administrative duties with clinical duties, and I cannot facilitate 9 hours a group a week, is very, very challenging. And we are getting more of those individuals with private insurance, with Medicare, and so that's definitely a need.
Yeah, Medicaid is much less restrictive on the licensure for somebody to be able to provide treatment than private insurance or Medicare is.
Dr. Brazel told me he's up to 40 now.
Okay.
And the last one he's got was from the AIM initiative from the state police.
Yes.
Oh, that's good news. I think there's another question. I think it's appropriate to have questions from the audience during presentation. So did you have one?
I was, but she answered. I was wondering about the uninsured to come in there, how they handle. She said Medicaid.
Yes.
Yeah. And we, as an agency, we provide services regardless of your ability to pay. So we will see anybody without any kind of payment. So
at that point, what we try to do is we set up reduction of copays. We try to work with the individual because, again, we know the need for them to receive services.
I have a question about Centerpoint. Is that at capacity? Is there a waiting list?
Oh, yeah.
I figured.
It stays at capacity. It's meant for 100. We have about 115 at any given time, and they have a waiting list to get in. Yeah.
Wow.
It stays very, very full.
I figured.
Wow. Any other questions?
No.
Comments?
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight and sharing with us. Really
appreciate
it. All right. We're going to move into business now. We're going to pass the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Anyone have anything they'd like to remove tonight? All right. City Clerk, will you read the items recommended for approval, please?
First item is minutes for the March 13, 2018 City Commission meeting. Appointment of Patrick Perry to the Board of Adjustment to fill the unexpired term of Tracy Jones, who has resigned. This term shall expire August 31st, 2019. Reappointment of Bill Griggs to the Paducah Golf Commission. Appointment of Mark Knecht, I think I pronounced that right, to the Paducah Golf Commission. Connect. To the Paducah Golf Commission to replace Martin Mundy, whose term has expired. These terms shall expire March 26, 2022. Receive and file documents, personnel actions, and the following municipal orders. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a grant application and all documents necessary to obtain a 2018 reimbursement grant through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security Law Enforcement Protection Program in the amount of $13,209 to be used to purchase 21 body armor vests for the Paducah Police Department. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute an application for a 2017-2018 matching insurance services safety grant award in the amount of $2,015 from the Kentucky League of Cities for reimbursement for employees to attend trainings for pool and playground certifications and for conference fees to attend the Kentucky League of Cities Risk and Safety Conference. A municipal order authorizing the purchase of one new case DV45 double drum roller in the amount of $43,728.04 from McKeel Equipment for the Engineering Public Works Department Street Division. A municipal order authorizing the bid of Lamarcus Harden in the amount of $5 plus recording and deed preparation fees for real property located at 2077 Broad Street, and authorizing the mayor to execute a deed and all other documents necessary to complete the sale. That's all the items.
All right, I motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, Commissioner Holland?
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Extending the Boundary of the City of Paducah, Kentucky by finalizing the annexation of certain properties lying adjacent to the corporate limits of the City of Paducah and defining accurately the boundary of said properties to be included within the said corporate limits. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah hereby approves the final annexation of certain tracts of property contiguous to present city limits located at 1740 and 1770 New Holt Road and containing 3.9 acres more or less.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. And Commissioner Holland.
I move to withdraw the ordinance introduced on January 9th, 2018, entitled An Ordinance Relating to the Protection of the Public Health and Welfare by prohibiting the smoking of tobacco products in enclosed public places, places of employment, and certain municipally owned outdoor areas.
Second.
All right, this is just a matter of making this easier on us. We actually had the staff look at this ordinance, and we did have a few amendments. We thought it'd be cleaner and easier for us to reintroduce the ordinance with those amendments rather than trying to amend the old ordinance. So that's why we're doing this withdrawal, and we're going to get to the hot topic in a minute. So I guess roll call, unless there's any questions or discussion. All right.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, Commissioner Rhodes.
All right. And the hot topic. I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled An Ordinance Relating to the Protection of the Public Health and Welfare by prohibiting smoking tobacco products in enclosed public spaces, places of employment, and certain outdoor places. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance amends Chapter 54, Article 2, Division 2 of the Paducah Code of Ordinances to prohibit smoking in closed public places, places of employment, and certain outdoor areas. Under this ordinance, smoking, including electronic smoking devices, will be prohibited in enclosed public places and in all places of employment, whether public or private, except in screened gazebos, private vehicles, retail tobacco stores, designated workspaces, and private organizations or clubs. Additionally, under this ordinance, smoking is prohibited in school-owned outdoor sports arenas and amphitheaters, public and private owned outdoor playgrounds, and certain municipally owned outdoor areas with limited exceptions.
Second.
All right, so the big changes I want to make sure we point out, and then we have a public comment, maybe two, that I want to pull up, but I just want to make sure we're clear. We actually put more exceptions into this ordinance. We didn't have the exception for private vehicles and the exception for private clubs. We added that back, so those will not be included in the smoke-free policy. Those organizations will still be allowed to do as they always have been. So I just want to make sure that that's clear for everyone. And then, do you mind if we do public comment and then we can have a discussion, if that's okay? I'm going to call Mike Muscarella up first. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor, Commissioners, City Clerk, and City Manager, I want to thank you for bringing this forward to the Commission for adoption for the first read. And I am the Executive Director of Ambulatory Services at Baptist Health in Paducah, and I also chair the Purchase Area Health Connections Health Coalition, and I'm a member of Healthy Paducah Health Coalition. And I support what you are doing and how we will make our city much more healthy by reducing secondhand smoke. And I just wanted to thank you on behalf of myself, Mike Muscarella, and the organizations that I work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have another public comment that says vice ordinances. I'm not sure, Daniel. No, not for this. Okay, for later. Okay, thank you very much. All right. Anyone have any thoughts, questions, comments they want to make tonight?
I just think it's important for you to maybe review the steps
that have been taken about amending this, because it actually started in February 2016. And that's part of the ordinance that's gone through starting in February 2016, continuing through 2016. Some of you have been here through many of those meetings. In 2017, we also had several presentations about it and asking us to consider the smoking policy, to strengthen it. There were some of us that had exceptions that we've wanted to have. We also had a lot of meetings in September and November of 2017. It was originally presented at the City Council December 19th. We introduced that ordinance in early January, which we are pulling tonight because we had some amendments we wanted to make and are reintroducing a new one tonight. So I really think it's important. The public has had a lot of opportunity to express any questions to us, to ask those, to ask for any kind of exemptions, and I think that we've addressed those in our final ordinance for tonight. So there's been a lot of public input. We appreciate some of our largest employers, Baptist Health and Lourdes, both had their CEOs here to talk to us about it and the need for this smoking ordinance and how they felt like it would really impact our community positively. I want to just say that the cost of smoking to employers and extra healthcare cost and reduced productivity is estimated at adding more than $5,800 per smoking employee each year. So it is a business issue that impacts their bottom line.
Commissioner? If you're gonna, sorry, you have to fill out a public comment form, which you're still welcome to do outside. To do comment during the, want us to grab you one of those? Would you like to make public comment at the end? Yeah, it's just a formality. You have to do the form before we can talk. Sorry about that. Rick's gonna grab you a form, okay? And then I'll bring you up, ma'am, after you fill that out. Sorry. We have to do that.
I'm supposed to be talking about something anyway.
Oh, are you on? Did you fill out a form?
They told, I guess I did. They told me to be here for the meeting because I had tried to get a hold of, they told me that I was on the docket. It's the only thing I know.
Well, if you'll fill that form out, we have public comment towards the end and we'll bring you up for sure, okay? Sorry about that misunderstanding. All right, anyone else want to make a comment?
I just want to say I agree with Commissioner Wilson that I think this is that smoking is impactful in our community, and I think that one of the initiatives and the strategic planning visions we've been talking about is being the healthiest city in Kentucky. And as a mother, I think that that's a great, important vision to be aiming for, and I think this is a great step in that direction. And I'm just really proud of our community.
Mm-hmm. And several of you are here again tonight that have been here with us several meetings representing different organizations, representing employers. So thank you for your patience. It has been something that I think we wanted to make sure we had it right when we finally were able to do it.
I guess I could apologize to Kayleen for, we met one day at the coffee house and I gave her a really hard time. So I apologize.
On the record. On the record, Kayleen. You got that one on the record. That's great. That's great. Well, I don't want to necessarily hash it out and reiterate everything, but I think it is important to remember that the McCracken County ASAP, which is our area substance abuse and prevention organization, really did lead the effort on this. And they have been working since February of 2016. They have petitions from our community. This was definitely not an overnight thing, and I want to make sure, as you mentioned, our public knows that. But I also want to make sure that we're remembering that this is really an evidence-based policy. We didn't just come up with this. And so for me, as a public health practitioner, it's important to me that we're making these kind of decisions based on evidence. And so this is an evidence-based policy that's been proven to impact the health of communities across our country. So we are adopting that. And for me, it's because there's evidence behind this and not because we made it up ourselves. So, and thank you, Mark, for doing the work with the staff. It was important to us that the staff believe in this policy as well, so that whenever it comes to enforcing this, we're also making sure that that's done. I think the one interesting point that I will point out about the enforcement, the first line of enforcement is actually really interesting. I really like it. It's a citizen-led program and process that's available. So if you're out in the park and you see someone smoking, there is, you ask them very kindly if they will stop, and if that doesn't happen, there's actually a reporting opportunity you have. So I think that is an interesting way to go about this that maybe we haven't thought of before. So thanks for leading the effort on that, Mark. And with that, I think we'll move on. Oh, she wants to speak about smoking. Ma'am, usually we have a microphone, but can you speak pretty loudly? Okay.
There's a microphone over there.
Oh, can we take her
right
one?
over there?
Only because on the camera and on the video, the watching audience at home will probably want to.
Test.
Okay, just speak up and I will recap for everyone.
All right, what this amounts to is what I had originally talked to. I had called two or three places here last week trying to get an answer to a question that was in regards to, I live at the Jackson House, and our manager is now saying that you cannot smoke on the sidewalk in front of Jackson House anywhere on the long 9th Street from one corner to the next. That it is his property. And I was under the impression that it was private property. I mean, it was public property. Excuse me. My question is, does he have that right to stop us from being able to sit there on the sidewalk and have a cigarette? And if he has that right, what about the general public who's walking down the street? Does he have the right to go out and stop them also? The other question that I have is, and I know I'm going to sound like I'm the bad guy here, but I've worked with cancer patients for years and years and years. I know the risk, but I feel like that it's my right to smoke, and I want to know what kind of considerations I'm getting, not just me, but the smoking community is getting. We pay an awful lot of taxes on cigarettes to the state of Kentucky. The state of Kentucky would feel kind of bad if for some reason or another, we weren't allowed to smoke anymore. I mean, there would be a lot of money being withdrawn. There's got to be some kind of consideration both ways. My main question right now is, does he have the right to stop us from smoking on the sidewalk in front of Jackson along 9th Street?
So I would recommend, I mean, when you use the word right, it has to really, you typically involve an attorney. And so once we pass this ordinance, I think it would be a wise thing to have an attorney answer your question for you.
Okay.
So sorry.
Excuse me. I tried last week, for 2 weeks actually, to get a hold of someone to be able to answer this question prior to getting there. I'm not necessarily, okay, right maybe is not the word, maybe it's, but I feel like that there should be some type of consideration one way in both ways. I understand that there are people who do not like to smoke. My sister, for one, she can't stand to sit and smell smoke. That's fine. I can understand that. But in the same respect, there are people who enjoy smoking and want to smoke. There's got to be a consideration. You can't have just everybody in one corner. It's like right now, everybody who smokes is, ooh, nasty, nasty, nasty. Just like it was 10 and 15 years ago, it was with the alcoholics. Now it's, everybody who smokes is a second-class citizen. I don't feel like I'm a second-class.
I don't think you are too either. Let me make a point about your question. So this ordinance is specifically for workplaces and public parks. Okay. The outline question I have, which is why I think an attorney has to be on this conversation, is the Jackson House a place of employment? That would be the outstanding question. If the answer was yes, then the owner or the manager, whoever is passing policies there, does have the right to say you can't smoke in the place of employment, and then there is some distance outside of that place of employment as well. On the public sidewalk, I don't think this ordinance covers the public sidewalk. I'm pretty certain it does not.
It's a 15 feet.
I think Rick has
from a door. Can you smoke inside now? Can you smoke inside the Jackson House now?
No.
So you cannot smoke inside now, so it's just going outside.
15-foot rule.
Mayor, I think Rick can answer the sidewalk question.
Okay, come on, Rick.
There is the ordinance that you have to be a certain amount of
Right.
feet from the door.
That's the same thing that's in here.
Right. But the sidewalk itself. Yeah, he just got the sidewalk. He just recently changed that. But the thing about it is, he's saying that, well, here's the state. No smoking at the front of Jackson House or the W.B. Sanders Retirement Center. That includes anywhere at the front of the entire building. All the way along 9th Street to the Jackson House to include the yard, and along, that's the yard I can understand. And along Washington Street for the W.B. Sanders Retirement Center to include the yard. With the yard, I can understand. I don't understand
the sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
I think that's I think he's overstepping his boundaries, but I want somebody else to tell me whether or not it is.
Okay, our city engineer, who is an expert on right-of-ways, is about to answer your question, I think.
Okay, for everyone here this evening and the viewing audience, where we have sidewalks, general rule of thumb is the back of the sidewalk is a continuous monument of the public right-of-way. For example, if you're standing on a sidewalk that's running parallel to a street, you're standing on public property. You take one step off that sidewalk into the grass, you've just stepped onto private property. Okay, so this administrator or this person at the Jackson House or W.B. Sanders is well within their right to not allow the smoking on their grounds. Okay. But as soon as you take that first step on that concrete sidewalk that is behind the curb and gutter, that is running parallel to Washington, 9th, or Jackson, any of those places, as soon as you step on that public sidewalk, unless this ordinance has anything to do with it.
It has a 15 feet from the front door,
of which there are no doors at W.B. Sanders or the Jackson House that are within 15 feet of any of our sidewalks. So he's overstepping his authority in stating that, because his authority ends at the sidewalk. And once you're on the sidewalk, that's when folks like me and this body up here get to determine what is right and what is okay for the public to do or not to do.
And the ordinance wouldn't sweep in all sidewalks, it's just outside the door.
Just outside the door, 15 feet.
Yeah.
Then
Now, one thing, okay, let's give a good example of that. Broadway, every storefront, front door is at the right-of-way line. You're touching the building, you're touching private property, even though you're standing on a public right-of-way. So Broadway would be a good application of the 15-foot rule, because if you are shopping downtown and somebody's smoking within 5 feet of your front door, they would be in violation of this ordinance. But in these other applications, it's not necessarily true. So there's going to be some places where somebody's going to take this explanation and use it out of context because of the 15-foot rule, because if you're on a sidewalk, you're on a public way, but the 15-foot rule would come into play there.
But not where she's talking about.
Absolutely not where she's talking about.
I'm sure this is not the first or last time we will interpret this ordinance.
Right. I don't know that we should be interpreting it. So I hope we answered your question, Carolyn.
Yeah, you did to some extent, but I just now, how do I go take this information back to him?
Have your manager go to YouTube in the morning. He can watch
Rick Murphy explained it.
Explanation.
Send him the
on
YouTube clip.
in the morning.
Or he can come to my office here in City Hall.
All right.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Wilson.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance providing for the closing of an alley between South 31st Street and Maple Avenue, parallel to Lonoke Road and Kentucky Avenue, and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents relating to same. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah does hereby authorize the closure of an alley between South 31st Street and Maple Avenue, parallel to Lonoke Road and Kentucky Avenue, and authorizes, empowers, and directs the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed from the city to the property owners in or abutting the public ways to be closed.
Second.
Thank you.
Mayor, Commission, I think you all are very aware of this particular alley closure as it's gone through planning and zoning, and you've had a lot of public comment on that. This is just the formality of moving through that. So this is the introduction for that alley closure.
I drove down there today to look at it. It's a very narrow gravel alley. I did not see any impact that it would cause to have it closed.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Holland.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled an ordinance accepting the bid of Huffman Construction LLC for the Floodwall Pump Station No. 2 Rehabilitation Project and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. This ordinance summarizes as follows. The City of Paducah accepts the bid of Huffman Construction LLC in the amount of $4,947,000 for construction services for the Floodwall Pump Station No. 2 Rehabilitation and authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for the same.
Second.
Thank you.
Mayor, Commission, it's my pleasure to bring this to you all tonight. I've been looking to award this contract for some time just because it's been keeping me up at night with this pump station number 2. So we'll be going to work on it very quickly. The river is subject to coming back on us again, but we'll be working on this during the summertime. But we're very fortunate to get these tight bids. They're very competitive. There's less than 1% difference between the two bids. So we got a great bid for this.
I'm still traumatized by Strand saying some people's flood walls don't work, so I'm just happy you're keeping them in working order.
And will you just remind me of the funding mechanism for this?
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I was should have asked that.
That's okay.
At least get close.
We have $1 million coming from CDBG, which we had staff work very hard to gain that.
That's grant money.
Federal grant money.
Federal grant money. Does not require a match. We have $400,000 that's coming from DRA, Delta Regional Authority.
Also federal grant money.
Another federal grant that doesn't have a match.
Just clarification.
Keep them coming. Okay, we have KIA money, which is Kentucky infrastructure money. That is
really,
coming through
really
the
low interest rate.
Yeah, that has we qualified for $5.1 million of loan at 0.75% interest. We're only going to use around 3.4, I think. I'm not running the numbers in my head right now, but we're only using around 3.4 of that, and of that, $1.3 million is forgivable. Okay. Now, is it forgivable all up front? No, it's forgivable as we pay the loan debt down. So we're basically, I wouldn't say basically 100% financed, but that's about as close to free money as you're going to get. So we're very pleased with that. Again, due to the work of internal staff in our planning department and with my staff members as well to get this money. So when you put a project together with a potpourri of financing like this, it makes dealing with the execution of the project and the financing to keep all these agencies happy with all of the documentation and stuff. So we're working through that, but we're really glad to see the project funded the way it is and moving forward the way it is.
That's great. Any other comment? Thank you very much.
All right.
Commissioner Holland.
I move that the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah introduce and adopt an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a License and Service Agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for the establishment of a computer-assisted dispatch system that will be utilized in the operation of the city's 911 system." This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the execution of a license and service agreement wherein Tyler Technologies, Inc. will provide software and related hardware for the establishment of a computer-assisted dispatch system, CAD, that will be utilized in the operation of the city's 911 system.
Second.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Sorry, I don't want to mess up someone's computer. Okay. Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Madam Clerk. We've reached a milestone. And believe it or not, I'm very excited about it. My sinuses started going kind of nuts about 30 minutes ago, so I apologize in advance. Before we go forward, I would like to introduce or get some feedback. The gentleman behind me is Kent Schull, and he's a representative from Tyler Technologies, New World, and we've been working diligently with him and his staff for quite some time now to bring us to the point where we are today. So should you have any questions beyond my expertise, Kent would be glad to answer that for you. And actually, if you have any words.
Just we look forward to working with the city and excited about this project and adding you to our list of customers in Kentucky.
Thank you.
And we're part of Tyler, which is easy on the financial side. We're on the public safety group, so very excited.
Okay, and also before we go any further, City Manager caught some wording, a little bit inadvertent wordplay here. In the agenda, actually, you may see the word competitive bidding. It's actually competitive negotiation. And before this project started in 2016, before I came on board, there was a written finding to endorse that form of negotiation for this contract. And of course, I have a copy of that here. I have a clean copy. I've just marked all over it. So anyway, going forward, before we get into the specifics of this, I would be very remiss if I did not make it very clear, as I'm sure most of you are aware, this has been a large team effort, and I cannot go forward without thanking and endorsing many people. First and foremost, Assistant Director Brent Stringer. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We're very fortunate to have him on board at this point with his expertise and years of service. He speaks a language that this guy and some of his cohorts speak that I just have to sit back and watch and admire because I have no clue what they're talking about. Chief Barnhill, Michael Zidar, Chief Kyle, Deputy Chief Matt Tinsley, and IT Director Stephen Chino. In the last probably 8 weeks, we've pulled together on conference calls as a team 3, 4, 5 times a week. Kent's team and Federal Engineering. Most of the time about 15 people on this call. This happened many times, sometimes at very short notice, and they've all stepped up. Prior to that, some other people have been in play, but here of late to make this happen, I think they need some recognition, some credit. In reference to this ordinance, as you all know, before I came on board in June of 2016, the city decided to go forward with updating their CAD system, as well as the complete 911 system, but we're speaking about CAD. So through a lot of preparation and meetings and contracting with Federal Engineering to guide us through this process, we issued an RFP on August 21st of 2017, request for proposal for the audience. And October 20th, we received that. We received two. We had two vendors, Tyler Technologies and Caliber. And through the competitive negotiation process, and again, many more meetings, we are here today with a bid from Tyler of $916,000 and $282. That started out close to 1.7, and we worked through these items one at a time very painstakingly. Again, that's why I'm giving the credit where it's due. There is what you will be seeing later as part of this. We're not there yet. We were able to save, actually at Kent's direction and suggestion, IT is able to purchase some of our components at a lesser rate. And of course, Tyler's gracefully said about absolutely by all means do what you must do to save the most money. So there's a substantial savings there that probably will increase the overall cost a little bit. Maybe $150,000, I'm not sure. I don't have the exact number with me. I do have a line item. And that's where we are. Questions?
Guess not.
Long journey.
Moving forward. Thank you. You're going to stay there for this next one?
Yes, I'm going to stand right here and close this folder and open the next one.
Okay. Thank you so much. Commissioner Rhodes.
Okay, I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a software license hardware purchase agreement with Equiture Incorporated for the purchase of an upgraded recording system that will be utilized in the operation of the city's 911 system. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the execution of a software license hardware purchase agreement wherein Equiture Incorporated will sell, install, and upgrade a recording system for the city's 911 system and will assign a license for the software that is a part thereof.
Second.
Okay, now we're on the login recorder. And I probably should back up a little. This is phase one of a two-phase project, of course, that we've agreed on earlier, and I didn't really get into that because we've met on it so many times. So this is a continuation, another component. This is a login recorder that records everything we do. It takes in all phone calls coming and going to the center and all radio transmissions coming and going. And daily, we make copies for mostly the judicial system for various reasons. So it's a very crucial piece of equipment, and this ties in with our CAD system. It works with CAD, it works with our telephone system. It's one of the many components that we cannot function without and needs to be updated as well. We requested for proposal on November 17th of 2017, and that was received on December 22nd. We had two vendors, Equiture and RevCore. This was competitive, but at the same time, they were also a substantially lower bidder, and they met all of our needs. And we've arrived at the price of $261,699 with them.
Does the judicial system pay for the records?
Yes, we charge. I'm not sure. Brent handles it $4 or $5.
Oh.
Yeah, there's some kind of fee structure there, similar to the police department.
Great. Comments? No? All right. Commissioner Wilson.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Zybex. Is that the way you pronounce it, Ed?
Yes, ma'am.
Zybex Systems, Inc. for the purchase and installation of dispatch console equipment, and furniture that will be utilized in the operation of the city's 911 system. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves the execution of a dispatch console furniture agreement wherein Zybex Systems, Inc. will sell and install dispatch console equipment and furniture for the benefit of the city's 911 system.
Second.
Okay. I believe everyone here has been in our communications room, that U-shaped communication center. This will be shaped very similar to that. We did move some things around. What we have currently will not work simply. It's several years old. When we're bringing in total new equipment, new computer towers, monitor structure, hardware structures, it just has to be replaced. It will not work. So again, we went out, we requested for proposal January 8th of 18. February 7th, there was a short turnaround because it was not necessary. This is nowhere near complex as the two previous items. And we received 7 vendors actually, so we did a competitive scoring process. And Zybex won to the tune of $69,018.30.
Is there a plan for the stuff that we're not going to use anymore?
No, to answer your question. Our guess is probably going to take a Sawzall to get it out. It was handmade and built for that center. At the time it was put in there, it was fit for the equipment. So it was brought in and bolted and put together, and it's very heavy. Can we take it out and do something with it? Yes, we could. But I say that. I think we could probably get it out.
Probably not a lot of demand.
No, not a
The
lot
only
of
thing
demand
I can
for
think
our
of is the
configuration.
Challenger Center, because I was there today, and it looks like a spaceship mission station.
Yeah, mission control.
If there's some opportunity for us to make that happen, absolutely, we're on board. Yeah, just
I'll let
have
them
them
know.
contact
I don't
me,
think
and
that
if
they
we can
want it,
work something out, sure. I mean, we'd just soon donate it or give it to them, but it's probably going to take a Sawzall to get it out. But if we can, we will.
Yes.
Absolutely. We'll make it work.
Excellent. Any other comments, questions? Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a good night.
You too. Oh, yeah, we're done. Okay. All right. Mr. Interim City Manager.
As you all can tell, the dome is up. We've got staff, after hard work of putting floodgates in and everything else, they moved right onto the dome, and so we got that process done on behalf of the convention center, and that's the biggest thing we've got. The Easter egg dash is moved to next Saturday, or this coming Saturday. It was canceled because of rain on Saturday, so just update on that.
Excellent. Commissioners, comments, thoughts?
We're about to kick off the Dogwood Festival, correct?
Correct.
So everybody get out there and
Ride
hold
your
those
bike.
dogwood plumes really soon.
There's a few scattered.
Safe spring break.
Yeah.
Fall break, spring break.
Yeah, spring break. Fall break.
Bring forward, fall back.
It feels like fall, not spring.
Oh. All right. With that, we have 2 public comments here tonight. Daniel Cohn.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me and allowing me to speak. I first want to say thank you guys for putting these on YouTube. I'm watching you all the time. I actually sometimes forget how long these are because I play a little drinking game when I watch you guys. And
Which words? I want to know it.
Each of you have a particular thing, but the one for the whole council is not my money. Like anytime that comes up in the context, it's a definite drink. You guys,
I figures my glasses off and on.
So thank you guys so much, and I really appreciate the work the council does. Even though I don't agree with every one of you all the time, I think that the specific niches you fill politically as a council work really well together to ensure that we cover all of our bases anytime we have an issue as a community. And I want to talk about what happened 1 month ago today when Commissioner Holland introduced an ordinance for the Little Kentucky neighborhood, which, correct me if I'm wrong, excluded tobacco products, vape shops, alcohol sales due to the proximity with the middle school. Now, a few days prior, on the 23rd of January, there was a school shooting in Marshall County, and 2 children died there. And I feel like it's very important for us to remember their names. They were Bailey Holt and Preston Cope. And less than 22 years ago, it happened here in Paducah at Heath High School to Nicole Hadley, Jessica James, and Casey Stager. And the first thing that I thought of whenever you guys said that ordinance was this is a common vice ordinance. We do them all the time everywhere in America. It's extremely common to have these kind of ordinances saying where you can sell certain products and where not. And the first thing I thought of was why aren't guns included? Why could someone not sell cigarettes next to the middle school, but they could open up a knife or a gun shop right there, and that would be completely fine within this ordinance and well within the rights? The way I see it, I'm 21 years old. I have a constitutional right to drink alcohol, but if this county wants to say we don't sell any alcohol here, that's fine. I can drive to another county, come here, drink it here legally, responsibly. But that doesn't mean I can buy it wherever I want to or drink it wherever I want to. And it is absurd to me that we would not include guns sales, specifically ammunition sales, with those vices. I'm also a big fan of helping you guys. I know it took you a year to pass these health regulations for the public smoking. I want to help you guys as much as I can to get this kind of vice included with our existing vices. I understand you might need to speak with Tamara, you might need to speak with the city lawyer, you might need to speak with the manager. Is it unreasonable of me to ask you guys if within 1 month, the second commission meeting in April, I believe it would be the second public one, the 4th one in April, to have possibly spoken to the corresponding individuals and have at least some kind of pushback to tell me where you think the issues are with including that in the vice ordinance. That's all I'm really here to rise for today.
I think it's important
I
to
think
know that
everybody's looking at
Commissioner
me.
Holland was a student in Heath.
Yeah, I was a junior at Heath High School, so I really appreciate you coming and your incredibly eloquent thanks for what the work we do here. That's very much appreciated. It's an issue that's incredibly close to my heart, obviously. As a student from Heath High School, a mother myself now with children in school. I've spoken with our police chief about some other efforts some city councils around the country have taken, specifically with additional charging authority to make sure if a child is flagged for troublesome behavior, bullying, mental health issues, that we have systems in place. And luckily we have a lot of those. So we have a lot of really good systems. That was sort of the approach I was taking to seeing like what are other people doing around the country from the commission level. I did not look into this. I'm happy to look into it and talk to Tamara and see. I'm wondering if we already have some limitations in place that based on the zoning that exists. So I'd like to ask her about that, but I'm happy to look into it. I think I really appreciate you coming before the council. I really appreciate your specificity and deadline. I think that's really awesome.
We got to make change somewhere.
Yeah.
Thanks
for coming.
Anytime,
Thank you
guys.
for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you.
How did you spell his last name?
Kohn.
I guess correctly. Thank you. All right.
All right, David Arrett. Hey. Benton Road. Do you have a number for Dana? Hi there.
Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, Clerk, before I start, I've got some handouts that I want to give you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, there's stuff. First off, I want to take just a minute. My name is David A. Rant. I'm 73 years old, and I've lived around Paducah all my life. Now, I'm not a citizen of the city, but I have taught school here 42 years. I've taught 32 years in the county, 10 years at St. Mary's, in which case I paid withholding tax to the city out of my salary at St. Mary's. During that period of time, I've owned 12 to 15 pieces of rental property, all which were inside of the city, so therefore I paid city tax on those. I also was a realtor for quite a few years with Chief Paducah Realty, and again, most of that activity was in town, so as much city tax as I've paid over the years, I feel like that I have a chance to say something here for a couple minutes. And what I want to talk about is a discussion that we had last commission meeting concerning the MLK Park. What we talked about a little bit was, among other things, the lighting that went on out there. And to report back to what you all said, or refer back to what you all said, that light that, everybody talks about out there was made to light the cemetery, not the park. Well, look at the pictures, that first group of pictures I gave you. The first two pictures were made in the daylight. You can see that there's a cone around the picture, around the lamp, and it's pitched right toward the Martin Luther King Memorial. But on the next one, the third one, is a night picture across the street. Shows how the Martin Luther King Memorial is lit up. The fourth one, I walked across the street and took. You see how the Martin Luther King Memorial is lit up. The fifth one, I took going back into the cemetery. That happens to be, it's kind of curiosity to me, that happens to be in an area where I own a whole bunch of lots. My family, I've inherited them since 1870 something. They've been handed down. You can't see, it looks like the inside of your hat. So, it's kind of hard for me to understand how that's supposed to light the cemetery, this light. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Another thing was the price that the light was. I believe you all said you paid $50 a month. That's $600 a year, $6,000 in 10 years, and so on. I don't want to get into the arithmetic of that. You all can handle it as well as I can. Anyway, the next thing. So this doesn't have anything to do with, this doesn't account, this money that I'm talking about for the light doesn't account for the maintenance. Any maintenance that you do, which would be like mowing or maintaining. And that other set of pictures I gave you were taken today, and I didn't know anything about them until we got here tonight. And that shows that, as I understand, there were several hours spent out there today mulching and preparing the area, and it was done by city employees. Another thing, you also stated at the last meeting that you, excuse me just a second there, get back, I got on the wrong line. You also stated at the last meeting that you maintain the property to show the nice entrance to the city of Paducah. That's fine, but it's 1 8/10 miles from Broadway out to the Martin Luther King Memorial. It's another 3.8 miles out to I-24, which is where, as far as I'm concerned, the city begins. So if you're starting into the city, Martin Luther King Monument is not at the beginning of the city. It's all not even halfway. It's further than halfway into town. So out there is where you're by the mall, by I-24 is where you would be seeing stuff that enters.
David, can I correct you one time for just a second? We actually said it was the entrance to a neighborhood. That's what I recall saying. Just to be clear.
I stand corrected.
Just to be clear.
I stand corrected. But anyway, that's the point that I wanted to make on that. Now, the next thing, on looking after this piece of property, whether you all look after it or whether you don't, you said there were about 10 other pieces of property in town that you also maintained, and you didn't want to single out any particular parcel of property or any particular group when you were maintaining property. That's all fine, except you've already done that with the Sons of Confederate Veterans when it comes to the Veterans Day Parade. We are one group that you have singled out. And with that, I'm through. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, I don't think we have any other business. So we do have an executive session?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Who has the motion for that? All right.
I move that the board go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics. Proposed or pending litigation is permitted by KRS 61.8101C.
Need a second?
Second.
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Holland?
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. And we will come back to adjourn. Thank you all for being here tonight.